Okay, road trippers, we're now at the last round of Agave Road Trip in a Box. That fifth round we refer to as the head and the heart. And why would we do that, Chava?
Because we're very emotional people and we usually make decisions with our hearts and not our heads. And we wanted to tell, like, we wanted to make a cheesy comment out of this because you're from the Midwest, and suddenly I now understand that everybody from the Midwest is a cheesy, cheesy
Dude,
psycho. Will that be a way to put it?
that's
Or
fair. You know, it is the dairy capital of the U.S., so yes, we are a little cheesy, and that's fine. We relish our cheese, and we cheese our relish. Okay, so this last round is in this previous round, right? We were talking, Chava was talking about the different cuts that the producers, the palenqueros, the vaneteros, that they make during distillation, the heads, the hearts, the tails, right? And how those different parts of the distillation have different flavors, textures, aromas, alcohols, elements to them. And so we thought we'd put a fine point to that with this last round. These are two spirits made by the same guy, Noel. Oh, I'm not going to be able to say this.
ne-
Negreos? No,
Negrellos Ortega,
there you go. In San Luis
Atolot,
Atolotitlan,
San Luis Atolotitlan.
Atolotitlan in Puebla, right?
Yes.
So one is the finished product of his agave marmorata spirit. So that's what is it called?
Here they
Pichumel?
call it pichomel.
Yeah, it's different. He spells it differently than I'm used to saying, but it's a pichomel.
Hmm.
So it's a pichomel, and there's the finished product, but then there's also just 100% of the heads known as the puntas.
Hmm.
And
And
what?
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, no,
Because
no.
I know how
That
much you love this. Talk
oh
about
yeah, this is my favorite one, hands down. And it's first of all, I love the punta. I just love puntas. But I think it's important to say, as we were talking before, that most of the people that are familiar with Scotch or whiskey or any kind of distillation, they're gonna see heads and they're gonna be like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is what you throw out, or this is what you use to clean
it.
the
Right.
space. Why are we drinking this? Are you guys trying to kill us? And that's why it's so important to say that, as we were saying, you have like the pre-heads and the heads in the agave spirits world. Actually, I will say that in classical distillation, you'll have these three moments. I think in agave spirits, depending where you go and which culture you're talking with and which technology are you dealing with, the snapshots are a lot more detailed.
And I think that actually has a lot more to do with the technology than it does necessarily with the fact that it's Mexico or anything else.
Not only that, I also think it has to do with the volume that is being produced.
Sure.
When you're making 500,000 liters a year, which I will say it's the smallest distillery in Scotland, or even like, I mean, I always mock a lot Macallan's publicity because
Right.
I think one of their biggest thing is like curiously, I can never pronounce that word in English. How do you say curiously? Curiously,
No, you just said it curiously. That's fine.
curiously small steels, and I think they're like
Right.
25,000 liters or something like that. You're like,
And that's the curious part. But
yeah,
you know, but to put a point to that, right? You're talking about a 500,000 liters being 500,000 liters being small batch in the world of spirits, and there isn't a thing that is in this set that would be from a batch that was bigger than, I would guess, 600 liters. I don't think anything we poured is more than 600 liters, and from producers who probably aren't making more than 20,000 liters a year.
and they're spending the same amount of time doing this that these large operations are spending their time. So let's say when you're doing something that small and you're spending so much time doing that, you have a lot more time and area for detail.
Right.
And I think that's why there's all these different variations that are more specific.
But to get back to those heads, those are going to be very, very, if you've not already put it in your mouth, right? Be warned, very strong, 75% alcohol,
That's not
high
a mistake.
volume. When
It's
we,
not.
it's not a mistake. It's not, it's intentional. But, you know, as we talked about it at the very first video, maybe you skipped it and you're going to be sorry. Like tiny sip and hold that on your tongue. Like when I'm drinking puntas, I'll leave that on my tongue to the count of 15. It starts to evaporate in my mouth, which means by the time I swallow, the ABV is lighter because I've actually consumed some of it through my sinuses. Um, Slow, tiny, tiny. And once you do that, once you slow down and you smell the roses that are puntas, suddenly you experience these flavors and aromas that you never get to taste in any other way.
And I think this is gonna be almost a teenage experience. You're gonna feel like the
Because
first time
all
you
teenagers
drank.
should be drinking 75% ABV alcohol?
No,
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 Chava.
no, no, no. What I'm saying is this is like the first drink you ever had as a teenager. That it was over the top strong. You couldn't understand it. It just touched you in the right and wrong ways. So, but then you well, like I'm talking about
No,
my
no, just
personal
keep going.
experience.
It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's just
Yep. Yep.
but then you have to give it the opportunity and the time to grow on you. And what I was saying the last session is I think distillation is amplification of flavor. So if you think why do cultures distill stuff, of course to get drunk, but I also think because they were able to extract a variation of the flavors of fruits, of grains, of agave that was really intense. And if you
And
like,
preserve it for a long time.
absolutely. But I honestly think that more than that practical thing, it was more the endeavor for beauty,
You
for
keep
intense
talking. I actually
flavors.
have to go sneeze. I can't put it off
Oh
anymore.
Lord,
Hang on.
okay, okay,
Just
go
keep
go
talking.
sneeze. Yeah, yeah, I'm good. So if you agree with me that distillation is that, then the puntas are the amplification of the amplification. It's like putting a microscope on a amplifying glass, and it's harder to find it, but it's really delicious and really beautiful once you're able to unravel some of these flavors that I had hiding there. And something else that we suggested during the last tasting that I think was a really interesting experiment, and maybe I'm getting a little bit, I'm moving a little bit fast, but
No, 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 no. I think this is exactly where we want to be.
yeah, okay, great. So try, and we're going to give you the opportunity to do what Patricio did, to start composing your own spirit.
Right.
And this is,
But before you do that, right? You're tasting the two separately and recognize. Did you already do the recognizing while I was sneezing?
well, I talked a little bit more of my theory of the how the puntas is the amplification of the amplification.
Okay, that's great. So it's also important. I think it's not important. I think it's enlightening. I think it's enlightening to taste the composed version, right? The hard, and then taste the puntas to try and see if you can pick out
Mm.
what in the puntas, like what in the heart is created in terms of flavors, in terms of aromas, and for the texture by those puntas.
Oh, that's great. Okay, okay.
Yeah. And
Like what?
that then leads to what you're talking about. Do your own composition.
Just get a little bit of the puntas.
Get a little
Like
more.
start doing ratios. I think
Get a
someone
little
said that their
more.
preferred way was two parts the normal spirit with one part of puntas. Just play with it. And something also that I think it's really important to say about these puntas, because I never thought somebody was going to sell them to us, because marmorata, this type of agave, the pichamel you're drinking, is very inefficient. In the case of Puebla and this specific, I'm sure it's a subspecies, because this technically is the same species as a tepestate. And if you drank tepestates, you will realize that this doesn't taste at all like a tepestate. And they look differently in this area too. So I just think that it's a different species that hasn't been characterized yet. I don't know the numbers for its efficiency, but I'm sure they're very low. So I never thought someone was going to sell us puntas, because that will mean that we will wreck a complete batch for them, because they didn't have a way to enrich with alcohol their final product. That means we left someone with some good 60 liters at 30 ABV. So we wrecked a batch, but we got it.
Didn't wreck it. You know what? Somebody somewhere must love the 30%, or he wouldn't have had the puntas to sell us.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
yes, and I was so happy he had them. And he knew he had good stuff. He had
right.
been waiting for someone like us to show up. He was like, I have these puntas for you guys. Uh, what else? And I think just production wise from Noel, because I think it's an area that it's also not so visited. I think
Hmm.
it's very close to Tehuacan, which is right in the border between Puebla and Oaxaca. It's uh, it's a biosphere reserve protected by UNESCO, which I think it makes it very special. This whole area, it's considered to have the highest biodiversity in Mexico. Someone says that if you want to gauge how we are doing in Mexico in terms of ecological integrity, if you were to see how this place is being affected, you can know if we're going down the drain or we have hope.
Hmm.
And most people say like it's a little bit complicated, but anyway, it comes from a very special area. uh,
Way to way to go dark, brother. Damn.
well, they're drinking puntas. This is the fifth set, so I think it's good to say something dark at the end, so it's not
Okay.
everything is butterflies and rainbows.
Okay, so what is Noel's process? He's cooking his marmorata in a underground in a stone-lined earthen oven, right?
Hmm.
He's milling using a wood chipper. He's using a machine, right?
That's
He is
correct.
fermenting open air in wooden barrels,
Hmm.
and then he's
And
distilling in wood-fired copper pot stills.
he has both. We are not absolutely sure if what we are drinking was made on stainless steel or copper,
Mm,
because it seemed to us when we got there that a lot of his installations were rather new. And this batch probably has been sitting there for a few years. So we're not absolutely sure if it was stainless steel or copper, but it's pretty, I
it
think.
is pretty. Okay, does that wrap it, or you got something else you want to add, Chava?
Hmm. If you can finish the puntas, let us know what happened to you.
That's right, and Chava will send you a refill.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, so thank you very much for sitting through these videos again. Like, if somehow you've gone through all five, six, really six videos, 5 rounds, and you haven't purchased this set, this tasting kit, Agave Road Trip in a Box from Maguey Melate, you can do so by going to agavefestival.org. You can check out our podcast, Agave Road Trip, and agaveroadtrip.com. And thank you very much for for taking this time to watch us and maybe for buying this kit to help support our podcast.
Thank you very much, guys, and adiosito.
Hasta pronto.